I'm Sarai Rivera, and I'm City Councilor here in Worcester, District 4. It goes from anywhere to go into neighborhood meetings and being able to hear constituents, and I have quite a bit in my district. I probably have double what most other districts have. But there you get to kind of talk about neighborhood issues, crime concerns, things that are going on in the neighborhood, great things, activities, things like that. You get to respond to constituent concerns. So you have constituents emailing you or calling you or meeting with you at all different parts for anything from concerns they have about their neighborhoods to projects they'd like to initiate, to sidewalks, to street lights, to all those things that have to do. And then you work on different initiatives and projects, whether you're working on economic equity, whether you're working on public health issues, you're looking at issues of public safety, or just, really what is the next great project that the city is working on. I think if I were to sum that up in one word, it would be equity. And so I want to make sure that all parts of the city are treated fairly. And it doesn't matter what neighborhood you come from, what part of the city you come from. So if we're looking at economic development, then we're not looking at just downtown development. We're looking at neighborhood development. We're looking at community development. We're looking at equitable development. If you look at education, the same thing. Sometimes we're having to kind of decide on the major budget and what goes out, what money from the total city budget is going to go to the educational department. And that sometimes can get a little bit, conflictual. But I've been a big advocate for making sure that the educational system has the a right amount of funds in order to be able to function adequately. If we look at health, the same thing. I'm the chair of public health, so I've worked on multiple health initiatives. But I think what's most important to me is that all voices are included at the decision-making table. I'm originally from the Bronx. I was born in Bronx, New York. But I've been a Worcester girl. My parents came here when I was 4 years old, so Worcester is pretty much the only home that I know. And even though I don't have a Worcester accent and I don't say park the car, and my kids make fun of me because I say water and I say dog, that's a good thing for my siblings that I think I got it. I'm the youngest of 5 and significantly younger, so I think I caught it from them. My parents came here from New York because they were going to be ordained into a church. I'm the 3rd generation pastor, actually, in my family, first woman. And when they came here, like anyone else, they, whole American dream of owning property, owning a home. I ended up living in District 4, so I was pretty much raised in the district and absolutely loved it. And we had a variety of different communities. We had a Greek community and African American and Latino and white and Irish and all different kinds. And so it really gave me a really great perspective of and love for the district. My parents were extremely supportive of my education, and thanks to them, I was able to, get an education. I have a bachelor's degree, a master's, and a doctorate, and if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't be where I am today. I always knew I wanted to do something to help people. I wanted to make sure that when I closed my eyes at the end of my life cycle, that I made a difference in someone's life. So I decided to go into clinical work. I did my bachelor's here in psychology in Worcester State University, at the time Worcester State College, and then went off to do some work, did my master's at University of Connecticut, go Huskies, and I worked as a clinical therapist, working initially with adults with major mental illness. I specialize in crisis intervention and trauma, and human services has been really good to me. I currently teach as a professor at Assumption College. I've been able to kind of take my 30-year experience, believe it or not, in human services and kind of now be able to teach. I've been able to merge kind of the both love of my faith in clinical and believe a lot in what's called kind of emotional and spiritual healing. I've done workshops on bringing awareness on mental health, but also workshops that on hurting communities, specifically with women, done some work with men, has brought some awareness regarding talking about things that normally people wouldn't talk about, whether it's about suicide, the pain of suicide, addiction, and things like that, that I really wish the walls of a sanctuary can protect us of that, but that's not reality. We live in a different world. I have a great partner both in life and in ministry, which is my husband, who's also, ironically enough, 3rd generation pastor. Our poor kids. We felt like there was really a need for a community voice, and that type of government really had not been prevalent in our community, where we were coming in together as a group, where we were coming together as a unit, as a community. And so we ran, and we ran hard, and we ran together, and we won together. I was kind of thrown in, and we don't really have like a training, and we don't really have a class, and you don't really have someone that mentors you. You are thrown in there, and you need to sink or swim. When you're pregnant, you're gonna go have your first child, you read all these like what to expect when you're expecting, and what you're gonna do in labor, and the music, and the breathing, and all of that. But it isn't until you're actually going through labor that you actually understand what's going on. You can read all you want, you can go to every class you want, but until you are in the midst of labor, you do not know what labor is. When I ran, there was often things I had to deal with. Comments that people made that somehow thought it was okay. You know, I remember giving my palm card to someone and someone saying, "What language is this in?" And I said, "Well, man, what language am I speaking to you in?" Right? People questioning if I had education or not. And then surprised when I would say that I actually not only had a bachelor's, but a master's and a doctorate even. You know, it was like, oh, really, like a shock. The level of stereotype of people saying, "Oh, I'm just waiting for like the hothead Latina to come out," right? Because of the whole stereotype of like gum chewing, neck snapping kind of thing. I don't say that to like be like boo-hooing, because you know what? I always tell people, you think I got to where I am today because I let that hold me down? No. So I continue to fight, and I continue to plug forward, and I continue to teach. And I've had some really great people that have been able to be willing to kind of expand their thinking and be very supportive. The Worcester Alliance Against Sexual Exploitation, and it's really made a difference. I remember for the longest time hearing conversations about the issue of prostitution, and when I'd go to neighborhood meetings, and when I go to meetings, just the degrading kind of tone about these women. And I thought to myself, that's someone's special someone. Someone loves that person. And they didn't get there because that's what they wanted for their lives. They weren't in kindergarten and career day and somebody said, "I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a magician, and I want to be a prostitute." Something happened. And so for the longest time, we only knew to deal with the issue of prostitution, again, known as sexual exploitation, and through the lens of public safety. We were finding that the majority of women that were out in the street here in the city of Worcester were also struggling with addiction. And what if we actually looked at this from a public health perspective and not just public safety? It was a little bit of a fight to get that, but it happened. And this happened because I sat down and talked with people from public safety, police and vice, and people in community and people in public health. And now there's work that's done that when police go out and make arrests, sometimes survivors get to intervene and be there and offer women help. And we've seen women, I think at one point, 80% of the women were choosing help and not getting arrested, not going through jail time. A chunk of my campaign was accredited, my win was accredited to young people that weren't even 18 to vote. And it wasn't because I included them in a way to say, here, just kind of fold this envelope and call it a day. I brought them in and explained to them what value they had, right? And then I created a youth advisory council, and I made them part of the governing time, you know, and how do we do this? And then sometimes I'd go to them like, hey, this is some issues I'm working on right now. What do you all think about this? What are your thoughts, right? And bring in some of their thoughts when I go to make my decision in council, on the council floor. Making sure, again, that they matter. Teaching them, because they don't know. They don't know why voting is important. They don't know that even if you can't vote because you're not old enough or you don't have the proper documentation, then how can you work on issues and initiatives or candidates that will work for your issues? As much as I love the administration of Obama, I couldn't pick up the phone and call Obama and say, hey, Barack, you know, I got this light up on Merrick Street that's not working. It's not gonna happen. I have this concern at this school. What's gonna happen? But you can do that locally, right? You can, people have access to me, people have access to the mayor, people have access to our state reps. 508 799-1122. And my email is riverasa@Worcester, completely, WRCESTER, MA.gov.